Welcome back to another episode of Making Money with Woodworking and Smalls That Sell, a series that covers low-cost, high-profit items that are hot and trending in the big box stores so that you can put your creative twist to it to make your own low-cost, high-profit items that sell. So I've found several trending items that we're going to hit on, so let's get to it. All right, so this first item I'm actually super pumped about because I've been seeing these on a ton of different sites. They're always super expensive to buy and very easy to make. And that's going to be these things. So have you figured out what they are yet? I know that you've seen them. Coat or towel hooks. So the one thing that I really like about these is you can make them out of scrap wood. So check this out. This is one that I found online that they are wanting $85 for a set of two. Now what I liked about this one is that it's a super clean look, that even whenever you're not using these things, they look nice hanging on the wall. And whenever you come across something that is functional, but also looks good when you're not using it, now that is a golden product. The one thing that I did not like about these is because they are being mass produced, they did not take the time to keep the grain together. So check out how awesome these look when the grain flows through all three fingers. Pretty sweet. So whenever I was prototyping these, I started off building one that was larger and longer. So even though I made this out of scrap wood, I figured out that I don't need to use that much. So version 2 came up with these. I made every one of these out of material that came out of my scrap pile. Are you ready to learn how to make these super cool, super high profit hangers? Let me teach you. Okay, so to show you just how easy that these things are to make, I'm going to make some more for my own house because these things are awesome. And just like for the first one, I'm just going to be using some scrap cut-off material that I have here. For these, I'll use hardwood scraps just because there's going to be a lot of weight hanging off of this. So the first thing that I'll do is rip these down the sides. And these things are super easy to build. But again, if you're a plans in the hand type of person, head over to my website. I'll throw a link in the description. So for this set, I'll be making them each 6 inches long. So I'm going to rip my material down to 6 inches wide. Now pay attention to the grain of your wood for this. And since I'm ripping this down to 6 inches wide, our grain will go the opposite direction as the saw blade. Once you have everything ripped down to 6 inches, let's head over to the miter saw. And next at the miter saw, we'll be cutting these down into 1-inch strips. These are going to be the fingers of the coat rack, and for each one we'll be needing 3 strips. Since I'm going to be making a full set, I'm going to cut multiples. And once you have the 3 fingers that you'll need for the hanger, just lay the pieces back onto your material, trace the outside edge, which should be right at 3 inches. This will be the mounting board, or you can call it the backboard. And that's all the parts that you need per hanger. And since I'm making a full set, I'm going to go ahead and cut some more. Now something else to keep in mind is the grain of your wood. I think that it would look super cool if the grain stayed intact across all 3 fingers. So if you're wanting to do this, just make sure that you keep them in order. So now with your fingers and your backboards cut, now you need to decide which side will be the tops and the bottoms. Let's go ahead and add the angles to our center fingers. So let's start off by setting our miter saw to 45 degrees. Then we'll place the top of our center finger in the saw, removing about 3/4 of the material from the back edge. I'll repeat this for the rest of my center parts. So now that we have the front 45 on our finger, say that 3 times fast, let's go ahead and cut our back 60 degrees. Let's leave about 1/4 inch on the end. Now if your miter saw goes to 60 degrees, you can just set it there and make your cuts. But a lot of miter saws don't. So I'll show you a little trick. If you take a piece of scrap wood that has a 45-degree angle cut on the edge, 0 becomes your new 45. So now if you set the saw on 15 degrees, you're actually cutting 60. Again, this is just in case your miter saw doesn't go to 60 degrees, but if you make this cut using a jig, make sure that you use something to hold your material down. You do not want to get your fingers too close to the blade. I'm just using a strong piece of wood to put pressure down, or you can use the hold down sticks that you buy. It's really up to you. And now we can do some sanding. So basically what I'm doing is knocking the sharp edges off of all of my corners. I just think that it looks better this way. Honestly, if you like the seamless look, then you probably won't have much sanding to do. That's something that's completely up to you. Now that everything's cleaned up a bit, let's go ahead and pre-drill out our fingers. So we'll start off by measuring 1 inch up the outside finger. Then we'll get everything squared back up. And then counterbore a hole on the side. The size of the counterboard needs to be a little bit bigger than your screw head. And once you have it counterbored, now you're going to pre-drill the length of your screw. I'll be using 2 1/4 inch trim head screws to hold my parts together. Honestly, you could use anything that would act as a pin between these fingers. Now with all of our holes pre-drilled, let's go ahead and attach our fingers to our base. And to do this, I'll apply wood glue to the outside 1 inch of each one of our backboards. Just make sure that you don't glue your center finger down. So now with wood glue on, we'll turn this upside down and install crown staples or brad nails into the back and into your outside fingers. And the last thing to do is to install our screw or our pin. This is going to lock our center finger into place but allow it to pivot. And it's as easy as that. These things turned out awesome. They're made out of scrap wood. Now I'll go ahead and put a spray finish on these, but think of all of the different styles that you can make with this. If you get creative on this one, I guarantee you it's going to be a big seller. All right, so for this next one, I've been seeing this thing around for the last few years, and honestly, I really didn't even want to cover this because it's so simple. But whenever it showed up again this year, being pushed hard by the old Hobby Lobby, I decided that it was time to at least go ahead and talk about it. And that's going to be these $55 one-board planter box that you'll find at the front of almost every Hobby Lobby out there. So since these things have been sold for several years, and they're using up precious marketing space at the very front of their stores, this tells me that they're making a lot of money off these things. So really, check these things out. The only thing that they're doing is using a common 1x12, making a few cuts, and nailing all this together. Literally, they don't even take the time to take these stamps off of the wood. So what is the purpose of leaving this thing just natural pine? Well, they've created a product that the buyer can take home and customize themselves. They have figured out that they would lose money if they tried to paint these in enough different colors to capitalize on the entire market. So this is what they came up with. And honestly, it's genius. They have a simple label on these things, just giving people an idea on how they could decorate this up, which in turn will generate more sales for, let's say, their house letters and things like that, while keeping the profit margins super high. Now, there are several simple things that I personally would change on these before putting them out there, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But first, let me go ahead and break down exactly how they put this together. So obviously, they have used a common 1x12 to build this entire thing. Each one of these boxes are 4 foot tall and 11¼ inches wide. Now they've just used brad nails and wood glue to assemble all of this. Personally, I would use crown staples and exterior wood glue. Now the cool thing about these is most people will be painting these, so you really don't have to worry about your fasteners showing. So as far as the parts for this, the backboard is going to be 4 foot long, and your front plate here is going to be 11¼ by 11¼ Your two sidewalls will be 11¼ high and 11 inches wide. Then for the bottom of this that's inset between the front board and the two sidewalls, that needs to be 9¾ by 11¼ Once you have all of those parts cut out, I'd start by putting together the box first and then attach it to the back. So I put my bottom board down, attach my front board to the bottom board, then come in and attach my two sides. Once you have that put together, you'll attach the back board to the box from the back of the backboard. And honestly, that's it. So you can put these things together in about 5 minutes. Now, a couple of the other things that I would change on these, I would start off with the backboard, maybe cut those two corners off. That's going to give it a little bit more shape than just square. Now, unless you're going for the square look. Use some old trim around the front, sides, and possibly the back just to kind of picture frame this thing in and create panels. Something as simple as that would add a ton of value to this. Now I could sit here and tell you several other things that would make this thing super awesome, but I want to see what you can come up with. What else could you add to this to completely change the look of it? I look forward to hearing your ideas in the comments. Okay, so for this next one, so not long ago, I actually went into Hobby Lobby and looked around, and I noticed one thing that I've noticed for several different years on several different sites. They are using trim like crazy to make several different products that aren't related to trim. Or they take new trim and try to make it look old. Again, this is something that has been popular for years and years and years. I've actually made several items using old baseboard and trim that I've salvaged from old houses. So there's one problem with making things like this ourselves. Trim is expensive, so that's where you have to get creative. Of course, the best way to get your trim is to either salvage it yourself or to check out Marketplace or any place that sells architectural salvage. So the awesome thing about that is that most of the time, you do not have to paint this stuff. You actually use the old paint that's still on it to your advantage to get a super cool look. So if you can find any vintage trim like that, buy it up and keep it for different projects because there's a ton of different things that you can use it for. Let's say that you can't find anything like that or do not have access to it. You can make your own trim for next to nothing. So you can make a nice square looking trim just using a table saw, or if you're comfortable using a router, your options are limitless. So these trays like this, they're wanting 30 bucks a piece. And no, that's not a bad price at all. You can pick up these cheap handles on Amazon, and using a little bit of creativity for the trim, you can make this entire thing for probably right around 8 bucks. Now again, on this one, I'm not going to go into super detail on how this was put together because pretty self-explanatory. 45-degree miters for each corner, then they just put a thin bottom on and attached 4 scrapwood feet. That's it. But the main thing that I wanted to show you with this is that you can take something that most people would just throw away and create a completely different product just using a bit of creativity. Okay, so for this next one, the thing that caught my eye was just how easy that these things would be to make. And that's these multi-cubby wall shelf thingies. I don't know, you've seen them everywhere, I've seen them everywhere, but they're super easy to make, and you could come up with a ton of different styles of this. Okay, so check this one out. It looks kind of complicated, and it looks like that it would be hard to create the joinery for this. But check out where the ends of each one of these boards meet. There is no part of this where you could not join this from the opposite ends of the boards. And that is key for making a project like this. There's no fancy joinery needed, and you can use a butt joint for every single one of these. So let's go ahead and break this one down, and you can change the sizes on any of these cubbies. So this one is 18 inches tall by 24 inches long. So if you're going to make something like this, you'll start off by making 2 different rectangles. You'll have your big one on the outside, which is 18 by 24. Then you'll have your small one that's on the inside, which is about 8 by 12. So you'll start off by making those 2 rectangles, and you'll just center your small one on the inside of your large one. And once you get to that point, if you're not for sure of the size of the rest of your parts, it's all that you'd have to do is to measure the space between your 2 rectangles, figure out the lengths that you need for your top and side dividers. And let's say that after that, you want to make a smaller cubby. It's all that you'd have to do is measure the space between your parts. Now it looks like for these, your top and bottom dividers and the 2 side dividers are most likely right around 8 inches wide. Once you have all of your parts cut, again, every single one of these areas where 2 boards meet is a butt joint. Just use some wood glue and brad nails on the ends of each one of these butt joints, and you're done. If you're going to paint this, you could use super low cost material, or you could go all the way as far as to making this out of hardwoods. Again, with something like this, the options are limitless and the profit margin is sky high. Okay, so this next one I saw on a bestseller list, and honestly I was a little surprised. And I think that that was just because I personally didn't like the look of this when I shouldn't be looking at things like that. And neither should you unless it's something that you're going to be putting in your own house. Because if you're making things to sell, it has nothing to do with what you like, it's what the customer likes. But even though at first I did not like these corner shelves, after seeing that you can make these in about 30 seconds, started to like them a little bit better. Okay, so you've been practicing breaking things down. This is a pretty easy one. So can you figure out exactly how they made these and got 2 shelves out of 1 board? If you didn't, then just picture this and it'll make things a lot easier. Take 2 of those shelves, twist them in and lay them on top of each other. They'll go together just like a Tetris piece. Now you see it? All right, so that's all that you have to do. Let's say that we're going to make 2 of these that are 24 inches long using a 2 by 12, which is 11 1/4 wide. So if we want each one of these to end up 24 inches wide, the board that we're going to be using to cut these out of needs to be 30 inches wide. Then we'll simply measure over 6 inches from each end. Then for our centers, we'll measure up 5 5/8 of an inch. Then we'll just trace this out and then cut the single line out with a jigsaw. And voila, you have 2 shelf boards that you can flip and change the angles of to get this look. Now they want $135 for a set of 2 of these. Okay, so let's think about this. If they're 30 inches long, you can get 3 sets of these out of one $10 2 by 12. And that's not bad at all. Now, will you get $135? Probably not, unless you have these things painted, stained, and finished. But if you were to attach a couple of shelf brackets to the bottom of these, I don't think that $100 a set would be out of the picture. Now, that's something to definitely think about. Think of other things that you can make using that exact same technique. Well, I hope that you were able to find some ideas for your next project, or learning a little bit more about breaking something down in your head so that you do not have to buy it. And whenever you get to the point that you are able to just instinctively do that, you're going to realize just how much that one skill will unlock your full ability and creativity. And whenever you unleash that beast, the sky will be the limit. So give it a try. Find something that you want to make and get up, get out, and get your build on. Till next time, we'll see you. Imagine taking a pile of wood and turning it into something amazing. Now, imagine doing that without years of frustration. You do not need a fancy workshop, expensive tools, or years of experience. With Woodworking Kickstart, you'll build confidence and real skills in no time. So you can spend years making mistakes and learning the hard way like I did, or you can start building with confidence today. So join me in Woodworking Kickstart and let's get your journey started.